Good afternoon, Facebook and friends. Chef Delish here again, talking to you on Tuesday. Listen, we're going to talk a little bit about the almighty meatball. Meatball, meat, loaf, any kind of loaf you want to call. People always say, well, how do your meatballs come out so juicy and so moist? Well, there's a little trick I want to tell you. There's a thing called panada. Okay, panada is what they call a forced mixture. Basically, what it is it is a soaked bread, some kind of a white bread with, let's say, a Wonder Loaf bread with the edges cut off. You soak it either in milk or in stock. It's the ratio that you're going to use between your bread and your meat, okay? Usually what you want to do is, for a pound of meat, okay, you want to have about 8 ounces, almost half, a little bit less, 6 ounces of your panada will be equal to your meat. That would be your ratio. So let's say you're going to put 1 egg, you make some panada, let it soak till it's nice and soft. You want to get it to a very, like a wet sand consistency. So basically, for 1 pound of meat, you're going to put 6 ounces of soaked bread, and 1 egg. That is going to give you your ultimate moisture. Now, I've seen people, even myself I've done it, add a little bit of ricotta cheese or cottage cheese to your meatballs. Now, a lot of people use pork, veal, and beef into their meatballs. Say it's great tasting, this and that. I've done it that way before. They come out great tasting, but I've noticed that what happens is when you use pork and veal, it tends to dry out your meatballs. You get more of a meaty, gritty consistency than more of a smooth beef taste. See, the ground beef, I like to get it passed through the grinder twice. Years ago, the butcher would do that for you, and you get more of a smoother, less grainy consistency as it's passed through the meat grinder 1 time. But today, it's very hard to get that unless you have a butcher who can do that for you. So basically, for your commercial use of ground beef, okay, you want to do about 6 ounces of panada. Okay, you can season your panada. Let's say we're going to make meatballs. Basic recipe for meatballs: ground beef, your panada, let's say 1 egg. You want to use a little bit of chopped parsley for flavor. And people think that parsley's for color. Parsley's really for flavor. It's an herb like any other herb, but we use it for many other garnishes. Okay? You might want to put a little bit of salt, some black pepper. Okay? Your basic ingredients, a little bit of oregano. Some people like to put Italian spice out of the can. Okay? But remember, your predominant flavor is going to be beef. Okay? Not cheese, not breadcrumb balls, not oregano balls. We want to make sure that it's a meat ball, okay? So beef, we want to put your panada mixture, all right? You want to put maybe a little ground Romano, Parmesan cheese, whatever you like. Drop a ricotta cheese in there, keep it, because the ricotta makes it nice and moist. That's one of my tricks of the trade. When I had my restaurant, we used to put ricotta cheese. That was one of the secret ingredients that I'm giving you guys today at no charge. Okay, so feel privileged. That's one of the secrets that we use. Plus, we use the panada. We use fresh breadcrumbs. Also, what you can use is a panko breadcrumb, which is a air-dried white bread, Japanese-style breadcrumb. More coarser, works very well also. Me, I like to use Italian bread because it has that good, almost like you dipped it in the sauce type breading flavor to it. Oh, it's just so wonderful. It's just, I love it, you know? Because you want to layer your flavors. Start with your ingredient that is the most, is your beef, and work your way down to your last ingredient, which is salt and pepper. Be careful with your salt, okay? That should be the last ingredient. And what I always do is after I make my mixture, I take a little piece and I put it in the microwave and I cook it so that I can get the flavor to know how it's going to taste after I cook them in my oil or roast them in the oven, then put them in my sauce to finish, okay? That is the trick of the trade. And don't overwork your mixture. Make sure your mixture is in the bowl and everything is cold. Snap on some gloves. I know it's a little bit cold for the hand, or use a wooden spoon. I like using my hands because it mixes quicker and more thoroughly than a spoon, okay? But there's nothing wrong with using a spatula or something else. So you soak your meat, your milk with your breadcrumbs, throw all your wet ingredients in, throw your dry ingredients in. After that's all macerated and permeated into the bread, then you add your meat. That's the last thing you put in. You mix it up. If you want to put it back in the fridge for another 10 minutes to let everything soak in very well, you can, or right away you can start rolling. Now, another trick is that whatever consistency your meat is, okay, if your meat comes out soupy and you try to roll your balls, chances are your meatballs are going to fall apart. You put too much milk or too much something. It should be a nice, tight, wet sand. Okay, almost like making a snowball. It should feel nice. When you pack it, it should feel nice and firm, okay? And when it's put it on a plate, it shouldn't get too flat on you, okay? It will get flat a little bit, but not so much, okay? You want to kind of keep them around the size of a golf ball, a little bit bigger. It's a good size. We used to weigh our meatballs in at 12 to 14 ounces each one. People used to say, man, you get the biggest balls in town at that restaurant. But we were famous for our signature item, which was our meatballs. We had the most delicious meatballs. But there's other secrets I can't give you, folks, because we die. Us chefs, we die with certain recipes. I can give you the gist of it, but you know what? I can't be bought, but I can be rented. So you want me to come to your house and make some meatballs, I'll be more than glad to do that. But a lot of my secret friends have shared some of the best recipes with me. So anyway, that's it. Don't overcook your meat. Cook it right. Throw it in your sauce. Do what you got to do. And that's going to be the best flavor of whatever. And you know what? I think tomorrow we'll talk about tomato sauce. Because that red sauce, ragu. Ragu is not the stuff in the jar. Ragu means gravy in Italian. I'll give you that explanation tomorrow, okay? So anyway, bon appetit. Eat healthy. Buen provecho. And tomorrow we'll be talking about that. Okay, folks? That's it for today for your meatballs. And it applies the same for a meatloaf. Meatloaf, you just add some peppers, onions, okay? It's all the same base mix. Be creative. I like that. Be creative in the kitchen. Anyway, listen, just leave you one more tip. Remember, never trust a skinny chef. I'll see you tomorrow.